Pulp MX Network production.
Bringing you a cheeky Brit and an American YouTube racing sensation weekly. It's the LVK More Than Moto podcast with your hosts, Phillips and Kellen Brauer.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Leatt LVK More Than Moto podcast. I'm Kellen Brauer, joined again by Phillips. It's an off week for Monster Energy Supercross, the lone off week that we'll have of the year, but it was kind of nice in a way that it happens right at the halfway point. Good little mid-season break, a reset. A lot of the athletes said it was a good time to have a weekend off. And then we also got a weekend off as well. Big Lou, did you have a nice weekend off?
Yeah, it was great. Although I actually realised that we're not really gone for that long, are we, on the weekend?
What do you mean?
Well, I expected a weekend off to feel like a lot of extra time, but actually it wasn't that much extra time. Like yesterday, for instance, Sunday, by 10:30 a.m., it randomly dawned on me that by this point I'm home anyway on a Sunday. So actually, this is not a gained day. This is just normal now. And I was like, oh, that's disappointing.
Yeah, but I mean, normally speaking, maybe not you now because you're on the East Coast, but we would fly Thursday at some point. So you got all of Thursday night, Friday afternoon, evening. Did you do anything with those particular times? Because that's where I feel like I gain all that. I'm actually kind of free for a weekend back.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I just don't really register that because it doesn't technically class as a weekend yet. You're right. I'm wrong.
Well, no, I'm saying our weekends are different because a standard weekend, yes, everyone gets off work at 5 p.m. Friday, but we start our weekend, as you would call it, much earlier. So I feel like when I get that little 2-day window back that I'd normally be traveling and or doing press day, that's where I feel like, okay, now we're not doing that much. So
well, if I'm correct, you're not doing many races at all from Birmingham on. So
3 more
congrats.
Supercross.
Yeah, so congrats. You get a lot more of this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm bummed I won't see you guys as much, but it's also nice, as I always tell you, to spend time with my family. Okay, but yeah, off weekend. Very interesting time in the sport right now because we're moving into the second half of this championship for pretty much all the championships. Pretty much everyone has gotten to the halfway point, except maybe East isn't really there, but pretty close. So a lot of fun topics to dive in today. Of course, a big thanks to Leatt, Namura, Racetech, Partzilla, everyone that backs the show and supports us. We'll tell you guys more about them throughout the show. But we're going to jump into our topics today as we usually do. And my first topic of the day, Big Lou, is recent news. Christian Craig is coming back for Birmingham, and we don't really know how it's been going with testing. He kind of has been putting out some posts saying getting better. It was supposed to be back by Arlington, right? So this is 3 rounds late at this point. But yeah, I guess as a base level, where do we expect Christian Craig to finish at Birmingham alone?
Well, first of all, let me say that at a base level, I'm very, very excited for Christian's return and the storyline that comes with this and the intrigue that comes with this. I genuinely believe this will be fascinating. And I'm excited to dive into what he's going to do. Why? Well, I mean, I think we all know that Christian struggled with the Husqvarna. And will the Yamaha put him significantly better on track, perhaps? Will it not? What will this tell us about the Husqvarna versus the Yamaha programs, respectively? There's a lot to unpack. Very exciting. Where does he fit in? Well, I can't really put a number on it in Birmingham because, that's kind of a throwaway race for him, isn't it? He hasn't raced Supercross in over a year. So you're asking about when he's at his best, or you want a Birmingham number?
Yeah, just getting his toes wet again, I guess. Where should he be, you think?
Well, this weekend, top 15, I guess. But when he is more in the swing of things in, say, 4 weeks, maybe 7 to 11?
Okay, let me rephrase this then, because I'm curious. This is where we'll define where he should be. Better or worse than McElrath?
Oh, he needs to be better than McElrath.
Better or worse than Ferrandis?
Right around Ferrandis.
Okay, so he's going to be, like you said, that 7 to 10-ish range. But
Yeah.
Ferrandis is poking closer to the top 5.
Barely.
I mean, the last 2 weeks have been a little better.
Yeah, as far as like early speed, I mean, he may be better as well when once we come back from this break and he has had time to recover from that shoulder injury. So perhaps he will now start to have more of an impact. But I would also expect eventually Craig to start having a stab at the top 5. Would you not?
I think so, yeah. But I mean, I think it'll be a slow build. I mean, I don't know. I guess we don't really know how prepared he is. Maybe the reason why he chose to take these 3 extra weeks to get fully ready was that he didn't think that he was going to be his peak in Arlington or something, or his peak in Daytona, but he felt like he could be his peak after the break, and now he's going to be like ready to go. So I don't know.
I want to say that he started riding in the first week of January, maybe?
I mean, that's a long time now.
No, I think it was earlier than that, you know.
That's what I mean. It's like that's a long time. He's
I
been on
want
the
to
bike
say it
for
was the
2
beginning
months.
of December.
Um,
Well,
so
fair
go
to
ahead.
say that when he comes back, there will be a lot of eyeballs on him for all of the reasons that I mentioned, and his results are meaningful. Although he's got a 2-year deal, it's not like he's coming back and it's just a freebie for him. You know, I believe he will be judged and he will be aware of that, and so there will be pressure here to some
Yeah.
degree.
Um, okay, so we think he fits in around that, yeah, like Ferrandis range at when he's back to full strength. We'll say at that level, but beyond that, if this, let's say this is the last 2 years of his career, it might not be, he might extend beyond this, but let's say it is the last 2 years of his career. What do you think he should do or needs to do to end this like whole thing with a success story? Like, do we need to see a podium in his final year? Do we need to see him battling for like a moto win outdoors? He's been borderline a Motocross of Nations selection. Do we need to see that again? You know what I mean?
I think that he needs to do exactly what I just said. Upper end of 7 to 10 with stabs at the top 5. I think that you talking about podiums and the Motocross of Nations and maybe it's a bit of a
That's like a
stretch too
pass.
far.
That's a pass, Craig.
Yeah. Well, no, that sounds very negative, but yeah. No, I genuinely am fascinated to see what he does and where he fits in because there are so many layers to unpack based on how he does. Like I said, Yamaha versus Husqvarna. If he is more comfortable in a race situation on the Yamaha, why? What is it that works better for him? Maybe this makes him realize that the Husqvarna was in fact not so bad. It's a great setting for him to return because the field is weak at the moment, arguably the weakest field that he will encounter in his year and a half now at Star Racing. There's a lot to come with this, and I think it's going to provide not a much needed, but a nice, necessary boost to 450SX because I do believe to some degree we have ended up in a we've ended up in a little bit of a monotonous routine of similar podium finishes. Chase throwing it away, Webb's consistency won. You know, like it's just been the same storyline week after week, I feel, for quite some time now. So Craig, although he won't feature in that battle, will be a nice opportunity to stray from the norm.
Yeah, we'll look at him and like you say, track his story is a little bit different. And speaking about Craig specifically, there's obviously been a little bit of he was working with Deegan and then Deegan went back to working with Swanepoel and that whole situation. We've already kind of hashed out what happened there a little bit, but do you think that this is actually a benefit now for Christian instead of like a hamper to have to, work and or deal with Deegan at the same time as he's also trying to be his best and now he can go back to focusing on himself?
Well, to clarify, he is still somewhat helping with the entire 250 team.
Right.
He is Swanee's right-hand man, his understudy. I don't know how you'd position that exactly. But no, 100% I agree that this is good for him and this is better for him. For instance, in January, I believe he was on the West Coast with Deegan all month. It would have been much more productive for Christian Craig, the racer, to be in Tallahassee logging laps and just preparing for his return. Who knows, maybe that's part of the reason why his return is only happening now. So yeah, no, without doubt, the Deegan split, I know they don't really want it called that because there are many layers here as to whether they were truly working together, but the change in situation with Deegan will definitely benefit Christian, and I believe make his experience more enjoyable because he can just focus on number one.
Well said, Big Lou. Well said indeed. Well, that's all I got for Christian Craig. I'm excited to see his return for sure, and it's going to be cool to see where he fits in. Like you said, let me tell you guys about Leatt. Leatt Protection is in our brand DNA. It started 20 years ago with the groundbreaking Leatt neck brace and continues today with an extensive product offering of protective gear and riding apparel. But what Leatt really stands for is inspiring confidence and ensuring safety with every ride. And Leatt, I used Leatt knee brace socks this weekend. Those are super nice because what they do is they're like a pair of pants and they go underneath your knee brace and then pull back up, so it keeps your knee brace from going like up and down while you're riding. It holds them in place a little bit better. So yeah, Leatt, thanks for the help.
Thank you for explaining the concept of a knee brace sock.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you knew what that means.
I think everyone knows what a knee brace sock is. They've been around.
Well, it could be the sock that pulls on from the bottom, goes over the top, and then wraps down below. But these are like pants. So
I've never seen knee brace socks go over the top of knee braces.
I have.
I don't think I've ever seen that. Why?
Right.
That would be horribly restrictive, wouldn't it?
No?
Because knee braces are already restrictive enough, and then you've got a fabric on top of the knee brace.
That's what these do.
What? I don't know, man. I'm very confused.
Never mind. We'll move on from this. But thanks to Leatt. We'll tell you guys more about them later on in the show. All right. So topic number 2, there is no Pulp Show tonight. Sad that we are working and grinding and Steve is vacationing in Cabo or wherever he is. No, but seriously, what I wanted to do is actually kind of pull a bit of a fun, normal routine from the Pulp Show and do some rapid fire questions here with Big Lou. And this is going to be brought to you by Race Tech. We'll tell you guys about them in here in just a second. But rapid fire questions, Big Lou. 30 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
You ready?
Are you answering these as well?
I will, but yeah,
Okay.
I want to your answer first. Ready?
Okay.
Who needs a podium the most in these final 8 races in the 450 class?
Barsha.
I would also say Barsha. I don't know that I look at Ferrandis and I don't think he gets there, and I look at other guys in that
No,
realm.
honestly, Barsha is the only logical guy who hasn't had one yet, who technically should have one. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Craig.
There seems to be a lot of bouncing around with your Craig expectations.
No, I'm just
like-
messing with you, Big Lou.
Okay,
Calm down.
Okay. Just wanted to figure it out because like the Motocross of Nations appearance really threw me off guard.
I'm saying he was in consideration, was he not?
He was on the team.
Ish.
Well, no, he was there racing.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm talking about his star days, not Husky.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
Back to our rapid fire questions. Okay. Question number 2. Eli and Jet are falling down the order in SMX standings. Does it matter at all?
No.
So last year, you don't think that coming back, whatever 13th in points that he was, Tomac, hampered his ability to maybe win that championship last year?
No.
Okay. All right. I agree, because the final round with the point situation, with it, escalating points, I don't think it matters either. But people have been saying that. That's been a bit of like a narrative.
I mean, my first thought was, will either of them have to go to the LCQ? And my answer was no. So it doesn't matter.
Okay, fair enough. All right, question number 3. Name the riders that will be on Ducati in the USA in 2026.
Barsha. And that's it.
Oh, only one. Because
Yes.
I thought the
I don't know
rumor
why-
was that
I don't know why everyone presumes there will be 2 riders.
I thought the rumor was that they wanted to.
Maybe, but I feel like it would be much more logical to run one.
Okay.
Also, just to be clear, Ducati told me last year they are not racing 2026 Supercross. And although I think there's now maybe a flutter of a chance, I don't know why everyone is signing them up for Anaheim 1. Because I don't think
did they
that's
not say that
necessarily-
at their launch?
No.
Okay, maybe revisionist history. I swear
I think
they
they
did,
said. I think they said. We hope to be.
but- okay. Well,
So-
then that must hamper who they can sign. There's
Yeah,
no way.
of course.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that takes away a lot of different answers that I was thinking of. But anyway, topic number 4. True or false? Cole Davies wins a Supercross this year.
False.
Why?
But he should. I don't know. I've seen a lot of mistakes. It realistically should have happened already by now. So what's to say it will happen in the remaining however many rounds?
I say true. My reasoning is I think we get to, I'll say he wins Denver. I think we get to Denver and Deegan's points lead is bigger than it is now because I think he'll do better in the showdown and he'll do better this week, Salt Lake or Seattle. And then he'll be in championship management mode. And the other guys that could win that would get closer to him in the points, Bomer, Shimoda, won't be as good. And Davies will just hold shot and walk away and get like a 10-second lead and win Denver.
Yeah, okay, I could see that. Can I change my answer?
Okay, sure. Go ahead. I'm glad I talked you into it.
Yes.
Great stuff. Okay, so that was my rapid fire questions. This one I do think is going to be a longer discussion, so I'll cut my rapid fire here, but it could also be a rapid fire answer depending on how you choose to answer this. If Tom Vialle wins this Supercross title this year, he's forced up. So what does KTM do?
Well, I'm so confused because I presumed that was the rule as well. But someone I was talking to last week told me he has to go up anyway because you get 1 year to defend, which I've also heard. But it's not that, is it? Because of his limited time or something?
The rule is if you win 2 titles in the 250 Supercross class, you get a maximum of 3 years. So even if you won as a rookie and won as a sophomore, you get that last year to defend and then you're out.
Yeah.
This case, he did not win as a rookie. He won as a sophomore, and now he could potentially win this year as well. So just all of the rules aside for just a second, if he does win this title,
he's gone.
He will be moved up. So does KTM retain him? Does he go on to a forfeit with KTM? Does he go is this suddenly Ducati and all these other teams are going to be jumping at Tom Vialle?
Well, interestingly, Kellen, a VIP in the industry rung me last week to ask me this exact question. So I've already rehearsed. I think he does stay at KTM because I do not believe that KTM A, let him go, or B, turn their back on him because he is KTM through and through. Pitt loves him. Robert loves him. I don't know so much about his relationship with like Ian and Roger, but I think Pitt and Robert would look after Vialle no matter what. Now, what does that mean for Plessinger? Does that mean a trio of KTM 450 SXFs on track? I could see that potentially, because after all, the intent or the new intent is to get as many orange bikes as possible. But black and white, I don't see KTM saying, we don't want you, good luck, have a nice life.
Well, okay, so like you said, they want orange bikes and as many orange bikes as possible, if that's what you want to call it. But if he's forced up and they need to retain him on a 450, which I would assume it would be a re-signed contract. His contract is up at the end of this year, correct?
Yeah.
So it would be a brand new contract, which is a 450 contract, which would be more money. Does that not also potentially impact how many seats would be available on a Husqvarna?
No, because I don't believe it matters, which is a very superb journalism, superb insight. No, I don't think it would because, well, first of all, is there even going to be a Husqvarna? Who knows? But
well, there would be a Husky or Gas team still, right? There's no way both are gone next year.
There would probably be one, but if they change the Husky team to a satellite KTM team, don't color me shocked.
Okay.
I think it would. I think it largely depends on what Rockstar do and want.
But the energy, I feel like the energy drink companies would not want to go orange. They would want to stay
that's my point.
white
If
red.
Rockstar if Rockstar are still in and all of that, then obviously there's a need to have Husqvarna on track.
Right.
If Rockstar are out, there's really no need to have Husqvarna on track. I could see them running. I could see them running Chase, Vialle, AP, all on KTM 450s in the Red Bull KTM truck. I could see them running Chase and Vialle. Also, got to remember, and although I don't necessarily believe this would happen, this definitely has come up with riders in the past. Chase is renegotiating. I could see Chase saying, I want Vialle as my teammate.
True. They're buddies for those that don't know.
Yeah, super tight. I'm very jealous. No, I'm joking. That's humor, in case some people haven't picked up on it. Or I could see them moving Plessinger to Husqvarna, although a lot of people have told me that won't happen because Red Bull love Plessinger. But I don't know.
Okay, so then you believe if like Vialle wins this title, it'll be Chase, AP, Vialle on KTM 450s.
Well, who knows if Chase goes back? But
Okay, let's say he does. RJ on a Rockstar Husky,
forgot about RJ.
and that's it. Like no other Austrian 450, or they would have two Huskies. Like
If I had to bet, I would say that's it. But I wouldn't be surprised if one more sticks around, like a Mookie or a Barsha.
okay. So the max though is probably 5 Austrian bikes on a 450 class next year. You would say?
Oh, I would say, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Because that's a lot. That's more than I have now.
No, it's not.
How not? Barsha, Malcolm, AP, Chase.
Oh yeah, it is. I don't know why I thought there was 2 Huskies. Never mind. Yeah, you're right. There you go. So the 5 is the max.
Yeah.
But that would just be a bro deal for Tom.
I don't know.
I feel like Tom going. I genuinely feel like Tom getting forced up to a 450 is AP's nail in the coffin. Personally,
Yeah, I would think so. I have kind of said that to everyone too, but multiple people have said to me, "There's no way Red Bull will let KTM get rid of AP." But I don't think that Red Bull have that much say. Like at the end of the day, although, and this is going to sound really bad, although AP is a nice to have and he's great with the fans, Red Bull are much more concerned with having Chase win championships than they are having AP wearing a cowboy hat.
yes, but doesn't I feel like that opens up the door then for I don't know if Ducati is going to be monster backed, are they?
I don't think they will be Red Bull, which is where you're going.
No, but I'm saying AP as in like Kenny at HEP, an individual deal with Red Bull going to Ducati or HEP or something like that, so that Red Bull retains him and he goes to a different team.
I think Ducati will have Monster on it in some way, some form. They aren't a significant sponsor of the MXGP team, but they are on there quite small. So,
okay,
I don't believe it would go against the fabric of Ducati to have MotoGP Monster, MXGP Monster,
Yeah.
and then one Red Bull helmet in America. And I don't think that Ducati would entertain that.
Okay. Well, anyway, I like I said, I don't see a world where there's 3 KTMs next year. It's either Vialle alongside Chase or Chase out and someone else in or whatever. Like I think it's 2.
I agree. The only reason I even said that about there being 3 of them was because of so many people have given me pushback on the idea that AP could be out.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. That has been the Race Tech Rapid Fire segment of the day. For 40 years, Race Tech has been supplying the motorcycle industry with high-quality suspension components made right here in the USA. For modern to vintage, Race Tech is your go-to source for suspension performance. And big thanks to Race Tech as well for carrying me to victory this weekend, which is going to be our 3rd topic of the day. Big Lou wanted to deep dive this a little bit, but that's okay. We can really break this down. I raced this past weekend. This is my first ever vet race. Is the Arizona Vet MX International, I guess, at this place called Motoland MX Park. It's actually the first time I'd ever raced in Arizona, so it was kind of interesting. But what's up?
Really grinds my gears. Motoland MX Park. So if you break this down,
MX Land,
Motoland Motocross Land. No, Motoland Motocross Park. You're using Moto twice.
Maybe it's not MX Park, but it's Motoland, something like
but
that.
There are lots of instances in this industry where people use Moto and MX in the same name when actually it's just the same word twice.
Sure. Okay.
My gears.
Anyway, but yes, I did race this weekend. I raced in what would be the 30 plus C class, basically. And I chose to race in that class because the last time I raced, I was in what would be the support C class or the 20 plus C class in this club. So, but yeah, I won all 4 motos that we ended up running. Unfortunately, the last motos of Sunday were canceled because there was a lot of medical situations in other races. But yeah, I had a great time. So, what would you like to talk about this, Lewis?
So you shouldn't have been in that class.
No, I should have moved up, but I didn't know because in California I get cooked in the C class all the time. So I
How
don't know.
much did you win by?
The first moto was a lot, and
Oh
then they
wow.
progressively got better. So
Oh
like
wow. We're talking a lot, like half a lap.
no, like 20 seconds, 25 seconds,
Okay.
and then the last moto 10 seconds or so.
Well,
So
cherry picking Kellen.
yeah, I should have
Sad
moved
to
up.
see.
I admit that I should have been in a different class because I get worked in the C class in California, but apparently Arizona I would have been B class. So anyway,
This is why you Americans are much luckier than us Europeans. Much more opportunities to win because you have all of these silly classes: A, B, C, 30 plus, 35 plus, 27 plus, 28 and a half plus. All of these classes.
we don't have that by the way.
Whereas, no, again, to point out, that was satire. Exaggeration. Don't take that too far. Whereas in England or Europe, it's very simply adult. Sometimes there's adult and sometimes there's vet, but that's it. There's no skill level, you know? It's just sometimes, like the club I raced at did have adult A and adult B, but then, you know, that's not C.
Well, how many people are in these classes? I
See,
want to
this
ask
is what I don't get about America as well. I've said this to a few people. Not all the time, but typically every single club race in England would have 30 plus on the line.
Oh, okay.
Whereas, like, I see all the time you and people race here with like 7 people in the class, which would never, ever, ever, ever happen in any class in England or Europe. And I don't understand why, because more people have bikes here and more people race here. So I don't know what. And there's a lot of clubs in England. Like, in my area, there were like, within, let's say, an hour and a half, there were 4 clubs to race at, and they all clashed and whatever else.
I don't know, man. My only explanation for it is that I would have fit in the B class, but a lot of the people in my class would have been dangerous in the B class, if that makes sense. Like rolling every jump, and if everyone in the B class is jumping everything and these people are kind of putting around not doing all the jumps, like not a good situation. That's where a lot of medical situations happened this weekend. Someone got landed on, for example, because he was rolling a jump and the other guy in his class was jumping it. So yeah, like I think that's why they split it up the way they do so that the skill levels are comparable. Like most the front 4 people in my class were doing all the jumps I was doing, for example. So we were comparable.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, I guess we don't have. Well, some tracks have American style jumps, but not all of them. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jesus, Kellen, I would have loved to be racing in C classes growing up and just absolutely clean up.
You should come do it now, honestly. Why not? I got out there and raced, man. It was a great time. You should come do it with me.
Eh.
Eh.
Yeah, no, this is it confuses me how you have such low rider turnout at American races.
Well, I mean, the rider turn, like, we just had a lot of motos, like, just stacked up against each other. My moto was 13 minutes long, and they would just bang, bang, bang off. You know, there was 2 gates, like, all this stuff like that. So, yeah, there was probably like 200 people the turnout for Sunday. It's just a lot of different races. So,
Yeah, see, too many. Like in England, so in England, a typical club race, you just have 50s, 65s, small wheel 85s, big wheel 85s, senior class, which is like 125s and 250s for like teenagers, and then adult and vet or whatever combination.
yeah, but I feel like you're specifically talking about youth racing there. This was a vet race. So it's
I don't, but that doesn't
almost
really
always.
exist. We have like near me, we had like the Southern Centre, which was an adult meeting, but like we don't have a lot of. There aren't really vet series.
Yeah.
There are adult meetings, but they're rare. Like there's very few of those exist.
Like there was literally a plus 75 class this weekend.
Yeah, that's
Like-
insane. That doesn't. The European mind does not compute
Yeah.
this.
So I shouldn't be on the
Who was
gate
in
with
it?
that guy.
One
Like two-
person?
No, 2 guys, I think.
What?
Pretty
Why
sure.
are we dropping a gate for 2 people?
Well, they go with the 70-year-olds, but then they're scored
There's
separately.
a 70 class as well. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Anyway, point
Also-
being, go ahead.
Sidebar: when I raced in New Zealand, I it must have been a similar setup to America because I can't remember exactly. I was on a 150. I must have just been in like the 85 class or the 150. I don't know. Some sort of 85 class, I'm guessing. I almost want to say it was a 150 class specifically. But I was in, let's say, the 85 class. We raced at the same time as the WMX class. Is this similar to America? No.
When I raced in the support classes in this specific club, because they also have like for younger people to race, there's a support class. They would combine us. It would be pretty much all skill levels of support, usually on the same gate with women. So
Okay. But like, okay. Because I remember this. Because half the gate was for my, like, I had no idea what was going on. It was very hard to figure out what the hell was going on and when I was meant to be racing. So the outside of the gate, the outside of the box was for my class, and the inside was for WMX. And the gates dropped at different times.
Mm-hmm.
I went to the WMX side having no idea what was going on, and a woman shouted at me, and I remember this. And it was just very confusing, very unsure of what was going on. Also, if any listeners have ever ridden at Barrett Road, hit me up.
I like how this was, you wanted to talk about my race, and we've talked about English moto and New Zealand moto.
Well, no, I'm just confused. I'm back to the point. I'm confused by the fact that you have a 75 class, a 65 class.
There used to be 80 plus guys out there, but they retired now.
I feel like everywhere else in the world, they would just go into the vet class or failing that, the adult class. But to be honest with you, I kind of feel like everywhere else in the world, there aren't 75 plus year olds racing.
My dad is 69. He just turned 69, and he raced in the 60 plus class this weekend.
I bet he's absolutely thrilled at the prospect of 70 plus coming right up.
No, they just roll around, and it's fun. Whatever. Like, they're just old guys that like to go race and have a good time. And this is my first experience being a vet in their series. So yeah.
You calling yourself a vet is very sandbag.
It's literally called the vet 30 plus class. What do you want?
Your class was 30 to 35 people.
30 to 40.
Right, so there was no 35
30
plus
to 39, because if you're 40, you have to race 40 plus. Yeah.
Okay. My main question for you, now that we're getting back on track, did it make you want to race more, or are you like, that was a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of work, I'm good?
No, I want to race more locally, and my dad is retiring here soon, so I think like I'm gonna go out to races more with him. But really, like in the past 3 or so years, like I've been so busy on weekends that it's been tough to go. Like when I'm not at the race, I was still doing a lot of work in the past 4 or 5 years of my work life. But now with my deal with Swap, when I'm not at a race, like there's no responsibility. I don't need to do anything. Like I need to watch the race, obviously, to be able to learn about stuff, and I like to watch the race. But now I feel like go to races on the weekend locally when I'm not at a Supercross or a Motocross, and feel like I'm not stressing that I haven't worked. You know what I mean? So
yeah, okay. I thought your answer would be different.
No, I had a good time. Like it was. How
much did this cost you?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Because like we split up the cost, like probably a few $100, maybe 300 or something, like to fuel, and I'm gonna need a new rear tire on my bike because Arizona chopped up my.
Well, you can get it for free, can't you?
I mean, I guess, but anyway, fuel and hospitality. I paid for dinner for all of us one night out, so yeah, I don't know, a few $100.
Do you feel that was worth it?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was a fun time.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
And you got some wins.
I'm glad that I'm satisfied that you haven't like ripped me apart more. I figured you would go in on me.
On what?
I don't know. You just be like, stupid. Why'd you race?
Why would I be like that?
Don't race. I don't know. You like
when
to.
When have I ever said you're a journalist? Don't race. What would that? Why is that even
I don't know. I don't know how you would
We've all
react to this
raced.
because, well, you haven't raced in a while, and I haven't raced in a while.
My
either, so.
first season of GPs, I raced on and off weekend.
On and off weekend. Where?
You're not going to in England.
Okay. Well, people in England might be like, oh, I didn't know Big Lou raced locally to me.
Ringmer was my final race.
Like RINGMA?
MER.
MER. Ringmer.
Yes. Yep. And
Very cool.
Left that track that day, and I went, "Yep, I'm done."
I'm done.
I was fully content, fully content,
Okay.
because I was tired. My arms pumped up. Someone who was my speed got paralyzed that day, which really kind of
Uh,
just like even to this day sticks out in my head.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm done.
Well, to that point, there was unfortunately the weekend before this international, there was a international vet race at Glen Helen that I obviously missed because I was in Indy, and a guy that was I think 75 raced, got off the track, went to back to his pit, and then died of a heart attack. So like even that, I'm not that age, but that kind of freaks me out too. So
Yeah, well, that doesn't really freak me out, but the other
I mean,
like,
it's just sad. Like
yeah,
you're on
but
the
I mean that's
racetrack
not
or
going to
right
happen
next
to
to that
you.
guy.
Okay, okay.
But I honestly, I did. We had a lap of honor for this guy. His name was Tim Kennedy. We had a lap of honor for him this weekend, and
You did
they
a lap of
retired.
honor.
They retired his number, I think, in the AZ series. So yeah,
What number? Do you remember?
251, I believe.
Okay, it's not
Yeah,
far from 152.
it's 152 backwards.
Okay.
Anyway, good with that topic, Lewis. Thank you for deep diving my race this weekend. Anyway, let me tell you guys about Namura, the leading provider of engine components for motocross, ATV, UTV, and personal watercraft for over 2 decades. Namura has been the preferred choice for premium and dependable engine components for more than 20 years. Whether you're restoring your vintage bike, rebuilding your four-wheeler, or upgrading your new 450 race motor, Namura has you covered. Our extensive line of cast and forged pistons, connecting rods, gasket kits, engine valves, and soon cylinder kits that enhance your engine's performance. Keep an eye out for our new and innovative products in 2025 and beyond. Stay up to date by following us on Instagram at Namura_technologies. All right, Lewis, second half of the show, buddy. What you got?
Oh well, I'm going against the grain a little bit here. I have 7 fan topics, so I guess I'm doing away with the 7-minute rule.
Well, which, by the way, we should clarify beforehand that the fan topic this week that we deep dive the most is going to win a Partzilla hoodie. So congratulations to whoever we deep dive in right now.
Okay, so some of these will be very quick, some of them not. So let's just see. Where do we even begin? Well, we've already done this because at EK Harvey sent in any idea at this point how many Austrian 450 seats there will be for AMA racing in 2026. But we definitely did that, didn't we?
We did, yeah.
Okay, so
But we did deep dive it, so
okay, well you can decide. Debo 360X. That's Denny Stevenson. Not the only star question submitter.
it is.
Okay. What is going on with Mikkel Harrop since Triumph left him high and dry with their underdeveloped 450 for actual racing? Now, that's very negative, and I'm happy that I'm here to set the record straight, actually, because I hadn't fully read that question. Although the intention... What?
I like that you picked it for to have
I
this
didn't read
topic
it.
today. I didn't read the question. Okay, go
No,
ahead.
I just read Mikkel Harrop and Triumph and was like, yeah, we'll talk about that. Yes, the initial intention was for him to be racing a Triumph 450 in MXGP this year. So, to a degree, yes, it didn't work out as he expected. But not only have they already signed him for 2026 MXGP, which is very nice of them, they've also kept him on as like test rider / fill-in guy in America kind of deal. So right now he's in America riding. He was planning to race East Coast, but had a little off.
Well, you should clarify that he wasn't planning it until Jaleel.
No, he was. Well, yeah, he was planning it after Jaleel, so he was
Right.
planning it
Yes.
pre-Tampa.
It wasn't like he came to the USA
no.
with like, I am racing Supercross. That's what I'm saying.
And although not certain, I believe you will see him for the Outdoor Championship, which will be very exciting because he's a great rider, a great guy. The American fans will love him. Trust me, I can just see that coming. And he will be a great asset to the series and a podium contender a lot, near weekly.
Can I ask a question about this?
Sure.
Okay. If he does race outdoors and he does as well as you say he could, yes, he has a deal for 2026 in MXGP, but do you think this opens the door that he comes back?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely think that. I mean, I guess a lot of it depends on what they saw from him on a Supercross track. But from what I know, he was quite happy, comfortable with where his Supercross skills were at. He said it wasn't as like daunting or as an extreme switch as he was expecting. So that's good. But yeah, I guess so. Because I do think he will do very, very well outdoors. Very good rider.
I agree.
Very, very good rider.
He'll win Southwick, right? That's all we want to say about these guys coming over.
Next, another famous questionnaire, if we can call them that. Zacho16. Does Kevin Horgmo find himself on a factory MXGP ride in 2025? Why or why not? Now, first of all, let me start by saying this. I don't like rider vlogs. I think they're dumb, boring most of the time, and with the exception of a couple, I could not care less. But if you are an American fan and you want to get into MXGP, you want to root for a guy, watch Kevin Horgmo's vlogs because they're actually very good.
Fully agree.
They're very raw, I guess you'd say. Whereas the American ones are becoming very overproduced and almost fake. Horgmo's are just, they're very raw. They really capture what it's like to go to Argentina and deal with different culture, different food, time zone. Like, it's very good. Very, very good.
And it's been very good for a while. I think I've watched Kevin's vlogs since really he started them. What was like 2018 or something. But and I'll also say because he's Norwegian. For fans that don't know, like usually the people from Scandinavian countries, which Mikkel Harup also is, Denmark, actually pretty good at speaking English and like kind of funny and personable about it too. And so Kevin is also that and makes the vlogs, I think, even better because of that.
Yeah, there's no I'm a pro motocross rider. Look how cool I am. Let me just show you how I'm the coolest guy. It is just like you say, laughs and jokes and taking a piss, which maybe some don't want. So stay away in that case. But no, you've been watching them for a long time. Because I detested rider vlogs so much, I only got on the bandwagon like 2 weeks ago, and my eyes have been opened. Well, to answer Zach Osborne's question, I guess we need to look at it like this. Geyser is under contract. I believe Fernandez is under contract. So HRC, no. Hurlings is out, but I don't believe KTM would hire Horgmo to replace Hurlings. So let's just say KTM's out. Jonas and Fevra are both under contract, so Kawasaki isn't open. Triumph have Harrop, so Triumph isn't open. Ducati, Sua's definitely under contract. I need to check Guadagnini's contract status, but he's Italian. He's been doing well so far. Let's just presume that he's still there. What manufacturer am I even missing? I think that's all of them.
Well, can I ask why like Bonacorsi got the ride at Fantic over him? Just because it's an Italian manufacturer?
Because Bonacorsi has a long history with Fantic. Of course, he won the EMX 125 championship with the brand, and he was on a factory Yamaha last year. They didn't have room for him anymore, so I believe from what I hear, Yamaha kind of got him put on Fantic as like we want to keep a hold of this guy for the future, so just keep him there.
Yeah.
But Horgmo has been very, very impressive. Very impressive. He did get a pay rise this year from his team, so that's good. If I said the number, American fans would shudder in disbelief, but he's been very, very good, very impressive, great guy, great rider. His MX2 career wasn't that good, so this is even more of a pleasant surprise, and all the props from Lewis and also Zach. And if Lewis and Zach are on board, then you should be too. Okay.
Let me just to kind of finish this topic. Someone also talked about Isaac Gifting in this discussion as well. Kind of similar situation, right? Yamaha guy.
Horgmo's a lot better.
But I know Horgmo's a lot better, but I'm saying Yamaha guy, but there is no place at Yamaha or Fantic for him because of the previous established relationships and also the guys that he's competing against are better on those bikes.
Yeah, but he's on a lowly Yamaha team. Like he's not there. If there was a space for him, with
Horgmo, you went right to Honda. As in Fernandez.
I was just listing all the factory.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say because he already is on a Honda. What about going to factory Honda?
No, I was listing all the factory teams and just randomly started with Honda because Geyser's leading the championship.
Anyway, but yeah, I mean, Horgmo is very good, very solid. I feel like deserving of like the number 2 ride at any factory team.
Yes, not the number
So,
1 ride, but the number 2 ride.
exactly. Yeah.
Triumph have said that they will only run one 450 next year, but maybe that will change. Who knows?
Well, I mean, not a great start so far for Ducati's Jeremy Seawer. Do we need to sound the panic button, and then could that be a spot for Horgmo next year? Like, I don't know.
There's a lot of negativity. I don't know why everyone's being so negative.
It wasn't good this weekend, though, man. Come on.
Yeah, but it was super muddy. So, like, what happened? Like, like, he's a little guy.
Yeah, he's been better in the mud before. I don't know.
Okay, moving on. Maybe we already did this, so tell me if you want to beat it. At Call Clop 75, does Mookie's win give him more of a leg up for contract talks next year than that of a Barsha, AP, Anderson, etc.? And if so, is that more than likely with Husky, or is Ducati the best chance at staying factory for any of these guys? We kind of did that, so let's just focus on the start of it. That being, does Mookie's win give him a leg up in contract talks? I would argue, and perhaps this is pessimistic, that the lack of podium finishes since Tampa has almost made his win obsolete. Because it's almost redefined the fact that it is, or it was, a flash in the pan.
Well, what I was going to say is an extension to this question is, does his Tampa win alone help him? No. Does almost qualifying fastest and winning a heat race, what, he almost qualified fastest at, where were we? Daytona?
No. He won a heat at Daytona.
He was fastest in free practice and Q1 at Indy, and then won a heat at Indy too, and Daytona. So he's won 2 heat races since. He was almost fastest qualifier at Indy. Has he got on the podium yet? No. But I feel like that there is consistent, like, flashes now, can you say? Like, he's lighting up the board, he's winning heat races. If he gets a start, who knows, kind of thing. Like, that's not happening with Barsha, not really happening with Plessinger. Like, that's where he's getting the leg up, is the flashes are starting to become more regular.
Yeah, I can agree with that, but I think we're going to the question, if he was to sit down, or his agent was to sit down and say, hey, we won Tampa this year, we can come to your team or stay on your team and win again, I think my reply would be, well, I don't know, because you haven't even been on the podium since. So,
I think a podium's coming, though. I do.
Well, it needs to. If he ends a year with 1 win and no other podium, that is bizarre and not a good look, in my opinion.
Yes, it is. Coming off a win. But I still think that, I mean, the old adage, we always say, we can work with speed, and like, Mookie's been really damn fast since that win. It just hasn't always materialized. Like, he's not a great starter, which doesn't help his case either. So he doesn't get out front very much. But, like, you know, if he starts 5th, I think he can podium.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has started around 5th, hasn't he, recently? You know what? I know a guy who has that information. Please hold. Please hold.
We're holding, Big Lou.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could just talk about something while I say
Well,
that.
I just think that, like, yeah.
Start positions since Tampa. So starting in Detroit, 5th, 11th, well, 5th, and then an average of 11th at the Triple Crown. He went 8-12-3 in the multiple main events. 5 again in Daytona, and then 11th in Indy. So
I'd love to know how 8-12-3 equals 11th average start.
It's a good point. Yeah, something's off there.
Yeah. Rework the algo.
Yeah. Thank you for putting that out, Kellen.
Anyway, I still think the flashes are what's the difference maker here.
Oh yeah, for sure he's more attractive than Barsha and AP at this point.
Right.
Probably.
Right.
Although you have to talk outdoors as well.
Yes, I think he and Barsha are similar outdoors at this point, though. AP is better. But I think that, I mean, we saw Malcolm towards the end of the year, like, working into that position outdoors.
I mean, if you want to break it down to an extremely basic level, Malcolm and Plessinger have the same number of podiums this year and just 1 more than Barsha.
Yeah, but okay, so to my point about about Malcolm getting better outdoors, excuse me. Yeah, it wasn't like he was 8-9 to start the year or whatever it was. Three of the last four races, he went 7.94 at Budds Creek. So that's better than I think people realize with his outdoor skills.
Yes.
He almost got on the box, so.
Yeah, but then also, how forthcoming would he be to do outdoors? We don't know what those conversations look like. So, yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Good talk, though. Good talk.
Indeed.
Right, let's see what we've got next. At Butterlegs _ assuming the fabled GP/AMA national crossover happens, which track would it be best at? Well, I can tell you this as fact, Butterlegs. It would be either High Point or Ironman. So, actually, or did I get? I think I did hear Red Bud as well because they know how to. They're familiar with the.
Yeah, I did not hear Red Bud is out, by the way.
No,
so I don't know where you would have heard that.
But I think the idea would be an MX Sports track just to really help with the logistics. Being an all new event, you don't want to add another variable. And yeah, I do still believe that happens one day. I mean, the fact that Luongo went on record with me to talk about it says to me that it's far along. You don't go on record and talk about something if it's a pipe dream, because you don't want to get everyone excited. And as I said years ago, Luongo pulled the MXGP teams into his office and said, "Start planning budget for an American race because this will happen soon."
Right.
So,
in terms of the best track for it to happen at, I think any of those three would be fantastic. I think the Euros would do better at High Point of those three. For a wish list, just because of like the history associated with it, I wish that they would do it at Unadilla.
No.
But no, I do.
Budds Creek would be my wish list.
Yeah, I mean Budds would be good too.
Parla would be great.
No, God no. I don't know the inner workings of this, but doesn't MXGP have a? I don't know how you would describe it, but like a standard, the way the start line should be, kind of thing.
Yeah, the whole well, actually, I don't know because I feel like as of late, I've not seen that as much. Like, I don't think that was the case at the weekend. I wonder if that rule's gone away.
Well, I mean, yes, it was. It was a downhill starting fast, but it was into a left hand almost 180.
No, but my point, I think the rule always used to be that the inside gate lined up perfectly with the inside.
Oh, I don't mean the positioning of the gate.
Oh.
I mean the structure in which the first corner, the turns are. I thought that there was like a rule about no like 45-degree kinks kind of thing.
No,
like it had to be like a 180 or almost.
Well, St. Jean is a 90, I guess you'd call it.
It's a little more than a 90, I would say. Yeah, okay, Ernay is fair. The reason why I was saying that is because if I thought about Unadilla, that's where I would, and maybe even old Red Bud, which they use that.
I don't think there's a rule about the first turn.
I swear there was. I feel like I remember reading in the rule book that they had a rule about it.
I don't think so, but I've never read the rule book. Anyway, thanks Butterlegs for that. Coming in clutch.
So you would pick, you would pick what? What track?
I don't really care.
You wanted Buds, but if of those three, what would you pick?
I'm not fussed. Not Red Bud. I'm done with Red Bud and the MXGP guys. We've seen it all before.
I'll go High Point.
Sure. I've never been to High Point. The one track on the American calendar that I've still not been to.
I haven't been either, but I will be this year.
Same there, Kellen. Sugar Shane, 79. What's the single worst travel experience you have had? I'm sure with your travel to the races, you have some doozies. You can go first, Kellen.
My single worst travel experience is I flew United one time. I don't know why. To get to the Redbud Combine in 2023, a day early. So I flew Thursday. My layover for United was in Denver. It landed at 4 p.m. in Denver, and then I was supposed to continue at like 6 p.m. or something to Chicago O'Hare. Everyone that goes to Redbud usually flies to Chicago and then drives to Redbud. The second I landed, before I even got off the plane, it said my next flight was canceled. There was a lot of bad weather going through Denver, but this is also when United was having their peak security computer issues and shit like that. So I get in line at customer service, long ass line, and I'm on the other line, like on the phone, but like with, via tech support app or whatever with United Care. They said the earliest they can get me to Redbud is Saturday night, or to Chicago is Saturday night. It's Thursday at like 5 p.m., mind you. And they say the earliest they can get me to Chicago is like Saturday night. So I just respond to the agent, no, that won't work. I can't do that. And he says, well, maybe the agent at the kiosk will be able to help you. Okay. It took 8 hours from the time I got off the plane in Denver to get to that kiosk. And I once again reached back out to customer service on my phone, called them that time, and asked for any flight changes or possibilities to change. At this point, I was already looking at like different Southwest flights or something to take as well. And I would say like not experienced enough in travel yet to like just kind of know that this would be a shitty situation, try to change my plans entirely. But I was optimistic that United would figure it out. It still took 8 hours from the time I got off the plane until I was serviced. So it was almost midnight at this kiosk desk. And they finally say, we can get you on a plane to Chicago. It leaves at like 8:30 the next morning. So get my ticket. It's now past midnight. I reach out to a few hotels nearby because a lot of them had been booked up because United was having all these issues. So a lot of people were going to these hotels. There was like one room left. It was like $250 and it was a shitty room at a shitty hotel. And I said, you know what? No. So I went and found the only like place that was still open is like a Panda Express that was like closing their doors, and grabbed dinner, and then went and laid on the floor in the Denver airport at my gate and fell asleep for about 4 hours and then woke up and got on my flight the next day. But it was fucking horrible. Like, I won't fly United again after that because they screwed it up terribly. The people on the customer service support line couldn't figure out a flight to get me to Chicago early the next day. I had found one on Southwest, so I was going to fly out early the next day anyway, but I was optimistic that United would figure it out in line. And sure enough, they did 8 hours later. So never again, United.
Well, similar to that, obviously, I had the Washougal last year, the whatever it was. All of the airlines' online systems went down. They were hacked, weren't they? Or
something like that, yeah.
And I was in Atlanta Airport for, I want to say, from Sunday midday to Tuesday midday. That was horrific. That was horrible. I never thought I was going to leave because there were so many people as well just desperately getting on whatever flight they could. But there was no real guarantee of like any sort of success. So that was horrid. But that's boring. I presume Sugar Shane wants a sweeter story, if you will. Get it? Sugar Shane?
Yep.
Thank you. Let's see. The first year I went to Turkey, so Afyon is a city, a town, whatever you want to call it. It's like 4-hour drive from Istanbul, which is the capital. And everyone else flew to Istanbul and then drove 4 hours. I hate driving, as we've covered on this podcast. So I flew to Istanbul, got a connection, and then flew into Afyon's little airport. I think me and one race team did this. Got to Afyon. When I was trying to find, obviously I had no knowledge. I just was like, well, it's an airport. Be good enough. Got to Afyon. Well, first of all, when I was trying to book a car for Afyon, a rental car, which you obviously needed, all of the traditional places were fully booked. I think there was only two, like Hertz and Alamo maybe. Mm-hmm. And they didn't have many cars, so it was fully booked. So I found another company that was at the airport. Can't remember. It was some Turkish thing. Turned up, couldn't find a counter. So I went to the policeman and said, I'm looking for this rental car company. And he said, I've never heard of that in my life. And I was like, well, that can't be true. I'm here to pick up a car at the airport. And he went, well, no, call them. So I called them. And they went, yeah, we're coming to pick you up. And it was a person on the phone with music blaring in the background. They're like, yeah, we're on our way to pick you up. And I was like, why? And they're like, we'll take you to the car. And I was like, okay. So I told the policeman about this. And I said to the policeman, stay nearby because something doesn't seem right about this. So they turn up. Weirdly, there was 4 people in the car. I don't know if they worked at this. They weren't, like, they pulled up at the airport, 4 people in the car, called me, saw me answer the phone and went, Lewis, get in. There was no seat for me. I would have had to sit in the middle of the 2 people in the back. And at this point, I'm like, this doesn't seem like a legitimate rental car people. Also, they came to pick me up in what you'd like a Ford Fiesta. You know, like it wasn't a minibus. It wasn't a traditional rental car thing. So I said, no, I'm not doing this. I'll cancel and figure something else out. And they were like, no, you have to get in. You've made a booking. We don't do cancellations. So I called the policeman over. I went, tell them I ain't coming. Tell them I'm out. Because I was very scared. I thought they were going to kidnap me. I mean, to be honest with you, even now retelling the story, it does sound like they were going to kidnap me.
Yeah.
Does not seem like a legitimate rental car company. So the policeman got them to go away. And I got on a random coach. No one spoke English. I got on a random coach that was meant to stop in the city with a lot of people. Miraculously, it did stop somewhere near my hotel, and then I had to walk like 30 minutes to my hotel. But amazing GP. Loved my experience after that. But all in all, that's probably the closest I've come to being killed in a foreign country.
There's actually, I mean, it's not as bad in the USA, but there's a lot of those like situations that you end up in where you're like, this doesn't seem right, it doesn't look right, and then everyone just tells you it's great and it's fine, and then like in your situation, I feel like I would have been stupid enough to believe getting in the car was the right move.
Oh, I was out. Well, also it was like midnight, so that scared me even more. If it was like 9 a.m., maybe I would have, but it was pitch black. There was no one around, so I was.
Luckily, the policeman was there.
Luckily, the policeman was there.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to care about me that much.
I mean,
to be honest,
I don't know.
There was also a situation, Argentina one year, where I got to security at the airport, customs, and they told me my passport was fake. And I was like, well, no, it's not, you fucking idiot. And they were adamant my passport was fake. So, fake. So they took me into the interrogation room and just kept screaming at me to admit that I had a fake passport. And I was like, well, no, but it's not. And we just kept going back and forth with them screaming at me, trying to get me to confess to having a fake passport, and me just going, but it's not. And then I can't remember how it got resolved. But then while that was resolved, while I was in the interrogation room, someone tried stealing my bag.
Because it was outside or what?
No, it was on the carousel, and I had a very distinct. And someone from MXGP, when I got out, someone from MXGP, like a rider or a team member, was stood with my bag, and I was like, oh, and they were like, we just chased someone who was running out with your bag and said like, no, that's not yours. And I was like, oh,
it pays to have friends, man.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what that was about now that I think about it as well. I don't like, was that a sting maybe? There's no way customs and the bag thief were in cahoots because there's no way for them to know what my bag was.
Where did you say this was again? Sorry?
Argentina. There's no way for them to put two and two together of who I was and what my bag was.
Unfortunately, I don't know much about Argentina in this way, but there's a lot of things like corruption like that in South America. So I don't know. Like,
on the flip side, I was very scared the first time I went to Bulgaria because I'd heard a lot of bad things. Very nice. No trouble.
Sevlievo?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good track. I miss that track.
Also amazing because the press room was in a tower that overlooked the track. So it was literally like working at a Supercross.
I miss that track.
Amazing. And that made me happy. Anyway, thanks, Sugar Shane. Great topic.
Thank you.
Last one. MAM 486 OG. How do you guys feel? Now, hang on a minute. I'm going to read this question and then we're going to go back to the name. How do you guys feel about all these shit YouTube shows that constantly talk shit on everyone? You've not commented on that. Also, Lewis, did you go to Baker's Factory, Sexton 2025 SX and MX Champ? Now, circling back, the name is MAM 486 OG. 486 was Sexton's amateur number.
Yeah.
Is there any way this is Sexton's mum?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, it's just weird. For the question to say Sexton, SX, and MX Champ, and then MAM 486 OG. Hold on. Let me find this account. It just seems very coincidental. Like, what a random name to have otherwise. Well, I can't find a question. Did I make this up?
That would be the ultimate thing if you made this up.
Did I just do this?
Oh my gosh, Lewis.
Oh no, it's not. It's a man called Mike who went fishing.
Then
why is his ma'am? Why is his okay? He's from Ohio.
Okay, so can you repeat the question now that we've gone down this rabbit hole?
That's really weird. Why would how do you guys feel about all these shit YouTube shows that constantly talk shit on everyone?
Well, I'm assuming that like that lumps us in too.
No, I don't think so, because otherwise, why would he be asking what we think? I think he's talking about people that want to be media, but not in the traditional media way. Sensationalist media, if you want to call them media.
Um, so my answer to this is that I genuinely don't believe that any of those sources of information are ever getting the full story to anything.
Well, they're not getting.
And
I don't think they're getting any story, to be honest.
no, I do believe that they get scoops at sometimes. I'm not even talking about the one that specifically people are thinking about, because there's a lot of channels like this that put out news. And I know that he's our friend, but I actually think Donnie, when he was doing Roto, was the most tasteful way of doing it, because you'd clickbait a headline but actually have the full story ingrained into his news,
Yeah.
if you would call it that. We know a lot of these stories that these people are trying to put out, and we generally put out our own stories that rebuke the truth to it or something along those lines. And so I'm not even saying me, I'm not saying Lewis. You have to trust the people, in my opinion, more often than not, that are going to the races and speaking to not only the riders, but also the members of behind the scenes, that will give them more information and insight that those other people on the internet are not getting. So you can be mad about one side of a story for a lot of things, but it's not necessarily the whole truth all the time.
I think it comes back to this, and this isn't really anything to do with what you said, but this was my personal soapbox. If you look at F1, which obviously started this past weekend, the unofficial fan wannabe media YouTube accounts are breaking down the races and offering their opinions, and there's no sensationalism. It's merely them commentating, offering their personal commentary on the races, with maybe I read this here or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's fine. There's a niche for that.
Yeah.
For some reason in this sport, that segment of people are only after some sort of conspiracy theory. And I don't know why I don't see this in other sports. And it confuses me what it is about this community where that is such a desirable or popular in some way segment. Because these YouTube channels, if they just uploaded my thoughts on Indianapolis, yeah, sure, that's fine. But it's never that simple. It's never just about the racing. It's always about some wild conspiracy theory or unfounded rumor or whatever it is. And I think it all circles back to the fact that for whatever reason, legitimate media is not necessarily wanted by the fans in this sport. And I don't know why that is as well. I applaud everyone who sent in questions for LVK this week, including the ones who weren't included, because they were all very intelligent questions that I would want to receive from the fans for this podcast. But if you look at Moto Twitter from the fans, again, it's not all just race discussion of, I wonder why web's so good. Is web better than ever? Blah, 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 blah. It's never this normal organic conversation. It's all very aggressive, conspiracy theory again, toxic in a way. And I don't know what, I feel like the segment of traditional normal fans, if you want to call it that, or voices is a better way to put it, because it's not really fans, it's just voices, doesn't exist. And I don't know why.
No, I agree with you.
Something to do with the makeup of this sport, and I don't know what it is.
I agree with you that there seems to be a tone of aggression, if that's what you want to call it, from fans and the people that put out like YouTubes and stuff like that. But there is that realm in F1 too. I think the YouTube channels you're talking about are like, I forget what their channel is now, but P1, I think, with Matt and Tom, and there's also a few other channels that are similar to that.
Yeah, like those are fans that have made legitimate platforms,
right?
And for legitimate reasons.
Exactly. But I do think there's still a lot of sensational stuff in F1, and honestly speaking, I really genuinely believe F1 Twitter is worse.
No, but yes, I agree, but it's all very memeable. It's not super aggressive. Like this, like for instance, I've never seen anyone on F1 Twitter call a media guy a fucking idiot, corrupt, bought and paid for, any of this.
I have.
Okay, yeah, but it's more prevalent. It's a more of a majority here than it is elsewhere.
And well, and like just to the point of the aggression, I saw that Lando Norris, who won the F1 race this weekend, we're kind of wildly off topic, but he won the F1 race, and he said post race something to the effect of like, "We have a better car slightly," and then
Yeah, I saw
all
this.
the fans were like, "You're a piece of shit," because when Lewis was in the best car and when Max was in the best car, all you did was complain, and now you have the best car and you say it's only a slightly better car. It's like, bro, you're taking it so far out of context.
Yes, but that's still relevant to the racing, you know? I feel like in this sport, the majority would be something like, you've got the best car because you're paying off, like it would go down this dark path.
Yeah.
Whereas that is still quite, although it maybe gets a bit over the top at times, it is still a discussion about the interpretation of words, which is kind of what this sports are about with like
Yeah.
interviews and stuff. Like I feel like, whereas I feel like there isn't really talk about a podium interview in this sport unless a rider says something really outlandish, like Webb talking about his forearms last year, or any, like there's just no normal conversation about that sort of stuff, as far as I can tell. Well, there is, but it's not the majority. The majority are talking about PEDs, money, and it's just like, I don't know.
I don't think it's the majority necessarily either. But I agree with you that for whatever reason, and it's funny about this sport to me that like I feel that the fans of this sport would disagree the most with what I would call cancel culture, and somehow they are very into that in a way. Sometimes like not I'm not saying all of them, but there is a group of people that are like that like just especially with what's happened in the last couple of weeks, and I'm not going to pick a side or anything on that, but like mob mentality kind of thing, which totally would not fly with a lot of the ideas that they have. So I don't understand that logic behind it. Like I wish that this sport as a whole, fans included, could see stories that the riders and the teams and all that stuff say, which to be honest, they're all much more open than in F1 about it. Chase, your interviews with Chase, Formula One drivers won't do that. Some will criticize the car, but they won't go into detail about why or what's going on or what's in his head or anything like that because I don't want to say stuff. So I feel like, I'm not saying the media as a whole does a good job, but I think that there's more information put out there than people give credit for because they just want sensationalized bullshit all the time. And they want to find stories where there isn't, kind of thing. So
yeah, I don't know what you'd call it. Something just like, again, so this question wasn't included, but like Brando BMMA sent us, barring injury, is this the first time in a while that it feels like both pro motocross titles are going to be repeat champions from last year? That's such a sincere, nice question.
it is.
That I feel like you get a lot of in every other sport. But I feel like there's almost no interest in content like that in this sport because that's not sensationalist. That's
Well,
not. There's less interest in genuine discussion.
Okay, but I'm actually interested in that discussion. I kind of wanted to talk about that one anyway. Let's end with that, shall we? Because
No, let's not cover every topic, Kellen. We can save that for next week.
well, but can we just quickly say that a question like that is very nice, very thoughtful. I disagree though. I don't necessarily say that Chase Sexton is the clear favorite to win outdoors. You know what I mean? Is Hayden Deegan? Probably, but you could make a case why not. And then yeah, Sexton is still going to have some level of jet, maybe not 100%, and probably 100% ready to go Eli Tomac. So
no, I disagree. Hayden is definitely the favorite, and I don't believe Jet will be 100% if on the start gate at all at round one, which means that Chase is a favorite.
so you don't think Eli 100% ready to go outdoors is comparable to
It's
Chase?
been a long time.
It's Eli Tomac, man.
It's been a long time, and bar Motocross of Nations last year, there wasn't much there to. There certainly wasn't enough there for you to sit here and put him ahead of Chase, who was going.
I'm not putting him ahead. I'm just saying I don't think that it's, what he's saying about the injuries and all that stuff. Like I don't think it's Chase is the clear favorite in my opinion.
I think Chase and Egan are.
Okay. Well, there you go. A good topic, good discussion, banters. That's what I like.
Yeah, I don't know. It just I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I don't know what it is. I don't know how to change it. I don't know. I don't know.
Like even this weekend, for example, I had someone come up to me and say like, "Hey, my friend thinks that all the athletes are underpaid."
Yeah, see,
and I was like,
never happening anywhere else.
And I was like, okay, let's break this down. Okay, yeah, the top guys, this is how much they're getting paid. I think that's fair. You go down the order of the field. If you talk about another sport, those people don't even exist in other sports. So, okay, maybe they're not making $100K a year, but they're making money with contingency and their sponsors that they're bringing in. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Like we try to level the field of like, okay, they actually are making some good money. No, it's all down with the system. So
I think it's because the lines are so blurred in this sport and it's so accessible where your buddy could go and race Anaheim 1 and you could be there as his pit crew, and therefore you feel a sense of entitlement and you feel like you're in the show like Chase Sexton is, and then you feel like you've got an opinion and you see how your buddy's treated when really your buddy is irrelevant. He's not making the night show, like who cares?
Well, I'm not saying
you feel like you've got an opinion, and then that spreads, like, oh, my buddy's buddy told me this, and it's like, like there's a blurred line from the top of professional racing to the bottom of professional racing, and then from the bottom of professional racing to, let's say, where we are, and then it just creates one very blurred system.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far. But
that's not a specific example. It's just a general example of where the how it all flows, Whereas in other sports, it is the Chase Sextons and Jet Lawrences. The only access that the fans have is via the media, and therefore there's a reliance on the media. Point blank, like everything is segregated in its very clear box.
Yeah, but
there's none of that.
But I like the way that the sport is with that, where there's more access to the fans and all that stuff like that. And I will say that, yes, could those guys, making the tail end of the night show be getting paid more? They should be, yes. But I hear all the time people cry bloody murder.
Night show, just to be clear.
I know, okay, but I hear people all the time crying bloody murder that these guys have to pay an entry fee. Holy shit, you guys should look at how much it costs to race a NASCAR race and get into F1 and all these. If we want to be comparable to these other major motorsports, they would make them charge so much more money to race this series, but they don't. It's $175 to enter the race. That in itself should be that's awesome. Anybody can show up with a pro card and pay $175 and race Supercross. But instead it turns into this, why are they paying it all? This is BS. You know what I mean?
Circling back, I think this is where there is still some beauty in MXGP coverage for me, because, to put it bluntly, a lot less people care. There is a lot less bullshit. For instance, Renault is on the 2022 frame. Can you imagine if Tomac turned up on the 2022 frame? The amount of wild theories, the amount of YouTube videos, the amount of crazy I heard from this guy. But Renault's on the 2022 frame. I put it out. Quite a few people were interested. I'm working on a story. It's all very clear cut.
Like you say, no one cares. What? How many people are going to read that story, you think?
Well, this is also the bigger problem.
That's what I'm saying.
But because of there's pros and cons. But anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just while we're putting the world to rights,
we're going deep today.
Really does my head in. I don't understand all these comments that say that all I do is argue with you on this podcast. It's a debate show. There were points last week when I said to you, I fully agree with your point, Kellen, but because I'm trying to keep the conversation going. Very short show. If Kellen makes a point and I go, it's a fucking great point, Kellen, I agree with you. And then dead air. making conversation, trying to make it interesting to listen to. It's not all about my personal opinion. We're both trying to provide different perspectives on different topics to keep a conversation flowing and give everyone the full picture. But everyone takes everything as arguing, and I don't know how to fix that either.
Yeah, and well, maybe we haven't said this at the beginning of the show. This is the name of the show, people. Lewis versus Kellen. We're supposed to be arguing about stuff, and we respect each other's opinions and stuff, but like the whole point, as you said, is to go back and forth on one topic, good or bad, argue both sides to a degree so that we come to a consensus of what is good or bad, and then move on. Like that's why our topics are short. If we agreed on something, it would be a shorter show.
I believe in this context, the word "but" is critical because "but" opens up possibilities and different ways of thinking.
Okay, yeah,
That's quite deep.
that is deep.
But like, but is the segue to another way of looking at the topic. There's been many topics on this show where you've started with the point that I would agree with, but I have, in an effort to make it an interesting podcast, tried to come up with a different way of looking at it, and in doing so, actually changed my own personal opinion. And it's like, oh, interesting. I'd never thought of it from this angle.
Yeah.
But everyone, like after last week's show, I messaged Kellen. I said, Kellen, seriously, everyone's saying the show was nothing but arguments, but I swear we didn't argue once.
I don't remember arguing last week. Yeah.
No, but like I don't get that either. Let's see, what else have I got to mic drop
Yeah,
about?
we're going. This is a long show today.
What else have I
We're
got to
making
mic
up for
drop
the
about
pulp show not happening tonight.
on this off weekend. Can't do anything about my accent,
Yep. Sorry about that.
so that's not possible.
I think if we're riding the ship, though, one thing I will say is, don't charge your brother.
But now we're going to go back to a whole. I'm still not certain. I'm still very, very lost on the non-moto thing. I know that a lot of people came back and said that they want it back, but I don't know.
I think we actually went pretty deep on non-moto today because
No, but it will come back to some degree, but I'm certainly not going to be as flippant with it as I was before.
It'll come back to some degree because we basically included all fans in this extremist side of the sport that I don't necessarily think they all are in, but you're absolutely correct that some are, and it's a frustrating
I didn't
prospect
mean every
about it.
fan, just to be clear.
No, but you said the majority a couple times. I don't agree that it's the majority.
No, I'm not talking about the majority of fans. I guess I'm talking about I said because I clarified by saying the majority of voices. You know the old saying, the positive people are the quietest.
Exactly, yes.
Whereas I think that in other sports, the positive people do have a voice, or more of a voice. Whereas I think in this sport, they're drowned out a lot, which I don't like.
Well, we're so deep today. This is another point that I feel like the teams should be better about. If you watch F1, for example, dude, when Isaac Hadjar crashed at the formation lap of the race and was out of the race, every single team posted aborted start, Hadjar in the barriers, bummer deal, or something like that. It wasn't just from the F1 account. This is the equivalent of Ken Roczen crashing out of Tampa with lappers, and Red Bull KTM and Monster Energy Yamaha Star Racing, and all those posting Ken Roczen DNF due to crash with lappers or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Kellen,
none of these teams... Huh?
We can't even get them to post a race report on time.
None of these teams are active on social except Instagram and some on TikTok. But like, we can't get the teams to be unilaterally for growth of the sport, which is what F1 did.
Yeah,
So,
and that would also help with what I was saying with the different worlds are clearly defined. Because, like, the teams are leaving a lot open to interpretation.
right.
Which yeah, that is an ideal. You've just motivated me again. I'd love to get a hold of a team's social presence, media presence, and just work on it as a project. That's always been a dream of mine, just to see what you can do.
Yeah. This is not, I'm not trying to come at the teams or anything like that. However, in those other forms of motorsports, they have social media teams, and the teams at these races do as well. It's usually the PR person, but the teams usually do have people behind the scenes working on getting posts up throughout the day.
Well,
and I think that they could take it a step further at times. So
to somehow bring it back to Kevin Horgmo. I feel
not where I
like
thought you were going.
it feels like the media now in this sport is so much vlog centric, whereas Kevin Horgmo just does his by himself successfully. Um, so how about we put some of that effort from vlogs into other things in this sport?
Yeah, but I mean,
In American sport, I say.
the vlogging thing is cool, and we get a
No, it's
peek
not.
behind
It's
the
overplayed in
well,
America. It's done.
no,
No one cares.
I do think we get a good.
Chases are good because they aren't really race vlogs, so they actually show something interesting. I hold on to your hat. I like Deegs because Deegs shows a personality of his that we don't see in our interviews and on TV. So I like that element of Deegs. I like Horgmo's. We don't need the rest of them.
Okay, but you just named the personal ones again, like going back to the whole vlogging situation and teams being more proactive and stuff. I mean, gosh, we're so deep today. I was thinking about this on the weekend though. We watched uh Beyond the Gate, Behind the Gate, whatever it is that Yamaha's one
Yamaha
is.
thing.
And this actually got me thinking because I have realized post race that less and less, like athletes are less and less enthusiastic to speak to media.
Yeah.
Obviously, because there's a lot of us rotating through to get questions and quotes and stuff. So that part of it sucks because there's like 8 of us trying to do that. But I also thought, man, like Yamaha throughout the whole day is getting stuff from Anstie and Deegan and and Cooper Webb and Justin Cooper multiple times. They have a camera in their face answering questions, and then Deegan on top of that is doing his own vlog. So I feel like by the time we get to the end of the day, like they don't even want to talk to us because they've already been talking to their own media source as well. And where that is a bit frustrating is that the teams obviously can control that narrative a little bit more, whereas we would get more out of the riders by asking pointed questions about what's going on, whereas they would just be like, how's the day? And then have to talk about it on camera for 5 minutes. So, you know what I mean? Like, even that I think is shaping a little bit of the narrative of our sport because they are getting that access, but it's not really positive retrospect, like behind the scenes retrospective what's going on.
Yes, I agree. How long have we been going for?
Almost an hour and a half. We're deep.
Oh wow, I didn't realize it had been that long. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we are, and I find myself honestly. I used to be much more. What would you call it? Not optimistic. I used to have a lot more. I used to have a lot more belief that things could change and improve. And I think since I've moved to America, I'm much more aware of the fact that this sport is like the way the teams to a degree, the riders to a degree, the media to a degree, the fans to a degree, we're all in there. The way it all occurs is so non-professional sport like. And I don't know if it will ever change. And I used to always believe like just push. Like MXGP, I used to always have conversations with teams and riders and people about like, we should do it like this. We should do it like this. Like in 2022, at MX Vice, we got a massive contract with Austria to basically handle all of their media for KTM, Husqvarna, and GasGas. And we had meetings upon meetings about like making it F1 style and like basically opening up the door a little bit. Because I always believed it was possible. And I don't know.
I just think that, do I want everything to be like F1? No, absolutely not. And I love how grassroots Supercross is. But if you want the sport to grow, it starts with engagement. And there are media outlets that are doing a fantastic job with continuing to grow that. And like, I will give credit to Gypsy here for sure. He has built a platform that is super positive for engagement and growth within the sport because he's pulled a lot of fans into more stories that we hear about all the time but don't always get out the proper way. And so I think he's done a great job with that. I just wish that the teams would sometimes care about that a little bit more too. You know what I mean?
To a degree, though, I think the Gypsy thing kind of supports what I was saying in the sense that he is absolutely thriving as a platform that isn't race coverage. Because going back to what I was saying about how like there isn't just normal conversation about like, oh, on Twitter now I'm talking about of like, oh, web. I wonder why is web better than ever? What does everyone think? You know, there's not that conversation, and Gypsy kind of shines a spotlight on that because his platform is so big away from race coverage. If you get me,
It is, yeah, yeah.
whereas you
This-
could
this-
argue that his platform, if he turned his platform into race coverage, you could argue it wouldn't be that big, which is weird because it.
Well, no, I mean, he's trying to, and you're right. He does his Supercross companion or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think it draws the numbers that like his main pod does because
No,
of the stories and stuff that he actually gets out of the athletes. So,
and call a spade a spade. Gypsy, like all of us, when you have a story from an athlete, you can sensationalize it a little bit, and that's how you get people through the door because that seems to be going all the way back around the main focus of people in this sport, rather than a nice, humble little story about like, what does Christian Craig's return? Like, if this was another sport, we would be writing a story this week saying, what can we learn from Christian Craig's return this weekend? And it would get a lot of reads, get a lot of nice, organic conversation going where everyone kind of ponders their own little outlook. But that's almost classed as too boring, I guess. And I don't know why. I don't know how to make that stuff seem more interesting.
I think that unfortunately, as I said, the idea of sensationalized storylines is rampant across the board. And you're right, in other sports it is more prevalent that a discussion like that can happen. But when something dramatic happens, those are still the ones that get the clicks. And the media companies know it, and so they still target it to a degree and stuff like that. Like, for example, an NFL player getting suspended for, domestic violence or something like that gets way more attention than someone breaking like a single season franchise record in receptions or something like that, which is the stuff that's happening on the field. Like, that's what people are tuned in to watch.
Yeah.
Then behind the scenes, they want to know more about, oh, what was this guy really doing and stuff like that. It's always the sensationalized stuff. So I don't know.
I guess
There's no way to change that.
I guess it comes down as simple as this. Yes, that's absolutely right. But because there are so many more fans in other sports, the sensationalized stuff is 20 times more popular than it is in this sport. But that also means the normal stuff is 20 times more popular than it is in this sport,
Yeah.
which although it's less, it's more.
So what you're saying basically is when we like to talk about the topics that we enjoy, we're talking to a wall. Because there's not many people listening.
Because as I said, there's definitely a core group of fans who like are open to any conversation. I mean, even if you look at like Pulp in the live chat, I feel like it's always like it's never like race conversation. It's always other stuff. I don't know.
I never take that much of the grain of salt because having live streamed as long as I have, that is every live stream, dude.
Okay, yeah.
It's just people in there just like, I'm going to make a funny comment and see who reacts to it. And like they're trying to almost show off to the other members of the chat room instead of actually have constructive conversation. So, yeah, what are you going to do?
I don't know. It's interesting. It's really interesting. But this has remotivated me a little bit.
Okay. Well, we're going to work
sleep.
on to go to sleep. Anyway, that is our show. A deep dive in a lot of different topics. Which one? We have to pick a fan topic that won today. But which one gave us the most?
I feel like, well, the last 45 minutes all came from Man 4860G.
So we're gonna send Chase Sexton. We're gonna send Chase Sexton's mama no Partzilla hoodie.
I also liked Sugar Shane's travel topic, and I also liked Cole Klopp 75's Mookie topic.
Here's what I'll do then. How about this? I will take this Partzilla hat with me this weekend to Birmingham and put those names in a hat, and then you'll draw out the winner.
Okay, deal.
Deal. Okay, thank you. What?
Or actually, that won't work.
Okay. Thank you so much to Leatt, Namura, Race Tech, Partzilla for backing the show. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Long show, long episode, a lot of topics. Non-moto, retrospective of the sport, current events. There was a lot. We went deep. Kevin Horgmo, we went deep today. on the LVK More Than Moto podcast. But that's why it's called More Than Moto. We want to go deep on this show and have a little bit more stuff to talk about than just the current events happening in motocross. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this show. Appreciate everyone who listens every single week. Hope you guys will keep tuning in, and we'll be back after Birmingham a little bit later in the week because Big Lou and Adam Wheeler will be in studio in Pulp next Monday night. But a little bit later in the week, we will recap Birmingham and roll back into Seattle after that, I believe, talking about all the fun stuff. So thanks, guys, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.